Hey everybody, I'm John Luke and I'm here with my good pal Kurt. We are in a parking lot in LA because guess what, it's play days. Kurt, you saw a game called Zoochosis.
I did.
What the heck is Zoochosis?
Zoochosis is a first-person body cam horror game where you play as a zookeeper in a very terrifying, like it felt like more like a factory, but it is a zoo where you have to go around and take care of animals. You scoop their poop, you take their temperature, you have to produce certain medication, and like, it's very complicated. It's this very overwhelming system, but
Yes.
it also turns out that there's something clearly wrong there because they eventually turn into monsters.
So is the animal sim, like I'm taking care of animals thing, is that just like at the beginning or is that like the whole, are you constantly doing that as you're being, it turns into a horror game, right?
I played the game for an hour, and in the time that I played it, the entire time I was being like bombarded with tasks. Like, you have to go and like pick up this food from a freezer, and then you have to put it on a cart, and then you bring the cart to this train, and then you go into the train, and you have to like measure out and like weigh the food in a certain way in which you like create food for different animals in the zoo, whether it's giraffes or like gorillas or penguins, and then you put it into a bucket, and then you take that, you have to take a train to the exhibit, feed them, and then you have to like take their temperature, and you have to like sometimes give them medication, and then like it feels intentional with how overwhelmed you are with the responsibilities to create this sense of stress on top of already being in an environment that's like clearly got something going on.
I mean, you're describing almost like zookeeper simulator.
Yeah, but the giraffe can turn into like a creature from the thing at any moment.
Interesting.
And kill you.
So the actual horror things, are you talking like Five Nights at Freddy's? What's the vibe of
That's where I was kind of most surprised with this game, because at face value I was like, okay, we have like body cams and like body cam like video games, like that point of view.
Horrors in.
Yes, yeah. And
you got your Poppy's Playtimes, you got your Amanda the Adventure, all that nonsense.
I absolutely think this game is like checking like those boxes.
Sure.
Like they're following clearly like a path that has been laid out for these other games that have been doing this. But what I was impressed with was actually like how involved and how overwhelming the tasks are, to a point where I was like, even if the horror was not an element of it, I was like stressed just like having to like figure out how to, because there's multiple systems. Like once you get the food and you put it on the like the weight, the scale thing, you have to like use ingredients and like recipes to be able to create for every single animal. So there was like, it was far more actually like hands-on, to a point where I was like aimlessly be like, oh, I have to hit this switch. Oh, and I also need to like use this gun, and I need a flashlight. And
wait, what's the gun for?
Oh, well, it's like a dart gun.
Oh, okay.
In which you would put medication or a tranquilizer in if if one of them's not feeling too well. As in Poe and Bo, which are the two giraffes that I took care of during that time. And it is so messed up that they gave those animals names, because it only means that you're gonna grow attached to these things that will eventually probably most likely actually die or kill you.
So it sounds like you're doing like all these different tasks and back and forth, but like what's the end game? What's the narrative? Like what's your goal? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, you play as a guy named Paul who like wakes up, and you got this other working man above you, who's basically like, hey, you just woke up, but you passed, you got the job, way to go. I'm gonna leave you locked in here for overnight, and you're gonna go take, this is exactly what his voice is like. Oh, you're gonna go take care of the animals. And he shows you around, and he like teaches you how to do things, and you realize that you're like down and out, and you need to like get food for your family, so like that's why you're taking this job. The best part was that he like drove off in a really nice like Ferrari. He's like, all right, I'm gonna see you later. And he gets out, he like walks outside, gets in his like Ferrari, and then rips off. But the narrative part of it is that the developers told me there's going to be, currently there are 21 endings.
Wow.
So the game is intended basically like, I think you have to go through the entire night at the zoo and survive.
Okay.
But I think that also means there's like many other variables, like whether or not the animals are going to live, whether you save the animals, what animals you choose to save, or what animals you are able to save. There's no time indicator, but it feels like every decision you make could lead to maybe losing the chance to be able to take care of something else that leads to a problem.
Yes.
There's like the side sort of narrative where your wife is like outside waiting for you, and she's like, I saw you go in and they locked you up. You gotta come out.
There's a weird sound in the bush. Come help.
And Paul's like, no, sweetie, I gotta get food for my daughters. That's what he says. In fact, you can even choose to steal meat from the zoo and give it to your wife through a little mail slot.
This is ridiculous how involved this sounds.
And there's implications for what if you choose to do so or not, because things are afoot, and there's something about that meat that you're feeding the animals that is causing potentially these
so
issues.
maybe don't give that meat to your daughters.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. There's a part where you have to the food comes in and it's clearly like a human body in a duffel bag that's like shaking around, and you have to like drop it into the grinder and like it turns into the meat. And of course you call a guy, he's like, this is a person. And he's like, no, it's a long neck pig. And it's like, okay. But I was told by the devs that basically, not that I didn't get the experience in the demo, but in the final game, you will have choices in which you don't have to, you can technically save the person, the long neck pig, the person in the bag.
Okay.
Or kill them and get the meat.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like, I was very impressed with how much there was, but in the hour I played, I didn't really get to experience the horror element so much.
Sure.
There was a few cheap jump scares that like happened for no reason whatsoever, where I was like, got a flashlight, and I looked at my PDA to see what my tasks were, and all of a sudden like a gooey turd thing with teeth was like, and I like, there was no context to it.
Yeah.
And Paul, the main character, said nothing about it. And he was like, okay, all right, I guess we're gonna keep going. So there's little elements like that do feel maybe more in line with.
Little rope.
Yeah, exactly.
To be perfectly honest, didn't realize this game on my radar.
Yep.
But it actually sounds kind of interesting.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I actually want to check it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kurt, for taking your time to tell me about Zoochosis. And for all you folks at home, stick around because we have more from Play Days
when
coming
you're a
up.
zookeeper and somebody asks you to stay overnight and feed the giraffe meat and the penguins fish, and all the penguins are like, the animals are very adorable. They're very cute.
You cut off my outro.
Oh, well, I mean, you could just put the credits over this.
Bye, everyone.